order of Human Resources. The committee is all here, the three people, along with our administrators. And I have had no response from the public. So, well, I was about to get to that. And now I will take approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And Brian, the wellness clinic.
Yeah, the first item for your consideration would be a request to increase our provider staffing at the clinic. And so this follows, anecdotal feedback we got from staff, and they had shared it, the insurance committee. They shared it with us last spring as we were kind of experiencing it. They followed up with it a little bit more even the start of this year. But then there's also, within if you go to the Waunakee report link, this is an example of what we receive on a monthly basis from our clinic partnership. And so there's a lot of information in here. But if we keep scrolling down, and I'm certainly happy to talk about any part of this, but if we keep going down for one more, two more, keep going. There, we can start to see, well, if we go up, if you can go up just a little bit, Rebecca, we can start to see what the clinic is providing us, and that's a rolling 12-month number. And so this is a historical report. We receive them with a delay of a month. So this particular report we're looking at demonstrates what we received in June, but for purposes of our discussion, what we're asking is to increase on Wednesdays to have another provider, physician's assistant in the SSM system that is available, could come and boost the hours that we have at the clinic, which would then give us an extended opportunity for more appointments. And if we kind of look and see, not only did we get anecdotal data of why this would be helpful, but this starts to show our fill rates for the months that we would be looking to do this for. And so we would really be looking to do this for the December to April timeframe. Well, it would be post board meeting if you support it and the full board supports it. And we would go through kind of that time in April. But we also have, because it is a flexible arrangement, we have the ability, if we're not seeing usage, we can back away from the agreement, ask them to discontinue it. But it would allow us to address some of these issues. When we start to get fill rates of 98, 97, those are really positive in one regard, in that that person that is busy, our provider is busy from start to finish. But the challenge is that if someone calls up because they have an ear infection or strep throat, or they think they're really not able, when we have fill rates that are close to 100 or even above 100, really challenging for them to get in to be seen that day. And then it results in a delay of, sometimes a few days, sometimes even a week. I did not hear of any delays of more than a week, but it did happen in the spring, and that would allow us to hopefully fit some more people in. And if you see the fill rates of above 100%, kind of what that means is that they're really hopping, right? I mean, they're using both rooms, they're housing someone while someone else is being seen at the same time. In some cases, our registered nurse is able to do a lot of that support. But if someone needs a prescription, or depending on the nature of what they're asking, the provider, which in our case would be a physician's assistant, is needed to see somebody too. And so that's kind of the data behind the why. I guess before I go into what this would cost, does anyone have any questions or want any more information on the report? Or thoughts, I guess?
Not necessarily on the report, but back to something you said. So Gypsy wouldn't be doing the extra hours. SSM would be providing.
Correct. It would be a different provider. I don't know who that individual is, okay. But yeah, and so Gypsy is kind of pleased with her schedule as it were. I mean, that was the first conversation was to see if she was interested in expanding.
Yeah.
She did not really want to
She's not
expand.
full-time.
She's not, no. She did not want to expand her hours, so they went to another provider in their system. And I'm not sure, I don't think they've ever mentioned where that person's coming from.
Would it be a consistent provider?
Yes,
for
yep.
that?
Yep, it
Wow.
would be a consistent person filling Wednesdays, yep. If you could go back to the other part, we can talk a little bit about what the cost would be. And so, yep, that one, please. So again, if we're expanding the hours, this would permit, based on the schedule, 12 additional visits per week based on our fill rates. Over the course of 14 weeks, if we start at mid-December, that's 168 visits. The cost, again, CPT, current procedural terminology. So what they have done is they went back in and said, what are our people using when they go in to see them? And she is using an average number there. Obviously, some are more expensive, some are less. But she went with a conservative average number. And so based on the number of appointments, the average cost of those appointments, because again, all those appointments and costs of those things don't go to our medical loss ratio. They go to our bill, or they're paid within our bill. That would save us, a net return of $15,000. So our expense versus our expense would be 8,400 versus what the claims avoidance would be, would net us a return of $15,000, almost $16,000. Important to note, that isn't money that comes back to us per se, right? I mean, we don't get a check for that, or we don't receive a discount for that. But when it goes into the system, it then affects positively our medical loss ratio for future usage, which then positively affects our renewal rates. And so it's not a dollar for dollar, but it put in a dollar and eventually it comes out as something comes out as less expensive for us on a renewal date. And the intangible part of things is something is significant, but you're not able to put a dollar on that, right? Is we want our staff to continue to try to make that their first stop. And we're really happy, like in this report, for example, it showed 70% of our 1,300 bodies that are on the insurance have used our clinic. And the more that we can get people in the habit of, I'm going to call a clinic first, it's cheaper, it's easier, I get in faster. The more those habits build, the better it plays out for us into the future. And so we definitely heard from some staff, not a lot, but some, that they were frustrated with being turned away in the spring and winter last year. This will help prevent some of that. And again, it helps us keep people out of more expensive options, because if they can't get into our clinic, they're not almost assuredly not going to get in and see their primary care person. They're going to go to urgent care. And that's just a greater expense for us that we'd hope to avoid.
So what were we asking to increase it?
So it'd be for the 14 weeks, December 16th through the end of April, that we would add hours on Wednesdays for a total cost of $600 per week. Total expense over 14 weeks, $8,400.
So a whole person on Wednesday.
It basically becomes a full day for us. We currently have afternoon hours.
Oh,
It would stretch out and fill the whole,
so right now we only have half days that it's filled.
a little less than half a day. Yeah.
Assuming that we take a motion and approve it with the HR subcommittee, does it have to go to budget or can it go straight to the full board then?
I'm gonna flip that to Steve. I'm not sure what your thoughts are, Steve.
I could add at the budget committee's meeting Thursday night, so I could put that on there.
I would just say, if it doesn't go there, if you could bring back the bullets of what our current cost avoidance is, what our new cost avoidance will be, and then a bullet around how though it'll also have the additional halo effect of potentially reducing our ongoing fees because of the fact that we're showing less claim. I think that there are folks on the broader board who will want to see those numbers and see that it's a cost avoidance return on investment.
Sure.
And that the numbers are all in our favor. And I think that it can go to the full board as long as those are re-bulleted for them.
Sure.
Unless you think we'll get hung up on it for too long, and it would make more sense to clear that first with the budget so that it's smoother in the full meeting. I'm fine with either, but I think they'll want to see the numbers again.
I think your approach makes complete sense, and I guess I would just have to ask Steve to kind of do that on my behalf, because I can't come to the budget committee meeting. So. Okay. Sounds good.
So what are we suggesting?
Well, I think this would be a good one.
Yeah, if we're looking to take a motion to either the full board or just also then review it with the budget subcommittee, I think that it's also a good plan. I don't know if there's more questions about it.
So do you want to propose that?
Yes.
I would make the motion to move this to the board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Wonderful, thank you. And then the second one is really just keeping the committee apprised of what our insurance committee is working on right now. Which we have certainly attempted to do at the full board level, but as we have talked about, we are within a 1-year agreement that ends on June 30th of 2025. We have not yet received any type of rate cap assurance, which has led to our kind of discussion and thought that it would be best for us to check and see what the market provides or could provide to us for a health plan. And so kind of what we have done as an insurance committee is talk typically about kind of at a high level what we're considering and options that we have for next year. And this is kind of at least an overview of probably kind of everything that's in play. We always have the option to really kind of within the plan that we have, adjust how it is structured. When we talk about structure, we're talking about deductibles, we're talking about contribution levels, we're talking about benefits, HSAs, what we provide as different options for our employees. We also are, as we talk about the base plan, right now, employees can make a choice between 3 different options. They can choose a traditional HMO option. They can choose a high deductible health plan, with an HSA option, or they can go with a point of service plan. And we allow them to choose any of those that they want. The 2 HMOs, the high deductible plan and the traditional HMO, are structured so that a body that goes into one bucket costs the district the same as a body that goes into the other bucket. But if we were to say, what is our base plan? We could say, we want to steer everyone to a high deductible plan. And then we consider, like we do with the point of service option, the traditional HMO is something that costs the employee more because they buy up to it. That is something that could have an effect on the cost of our plan. Co-pays is something else we could adjust. As I mentioned, deductible levels. We also could talk about like we did last year, where we adjusted the contribution level from both the district. The district increased our contribution by 5%. The employees increased their contributions by the remaining 3.4%. I think it was something along. So it's 3+%. That again could be something that has to be done this year. We also are really looking into and have, as are some other area school districts, the concept of a self-funded insurance plan, which is what we do with our dental plan. We pay a portion, employees pay a portion, we pool the money, We pay for our own claims. That is a structure that is used in some parts of the state, not a lot in our part of the state yet, but could be coming. And so, and that is again for something that is I guess just to keep everyone aware, something that Jack has had some real interest in and has been having conversations with Steve and I about things that he has discovered in that realm, in conversations he's having independently of us with a consultant that specializes in self-funding. And so, we shared with him that has been on the table for our insurance committee. It will be something that we gather information and data on so that we can consider it against what we do now, which is going out to providers. When we do that, so, seeking out proposals, a request for proposals, we'd also had talked about different providers. In Dane County, there's kind of three traditional bedrock providers. There's SSM and Dean, there is GHC, and then there's Quartz and UW. But there's also national level providers, which is something that Dawn had brought up at the budget committee, that we will also approach and seek out there and offer them an opportunity to provide to us a plan option. Within these, obviously, a big part of what we want to continue to do is get feedback from employees as we start to learn more what our options might be, to try to get some feedback from those that are using the plan and are currently enrolled, but also getting feedback from those that are option or have eligibility for insurance but are not currently using our plan. Like what are the feedbacks from those two levels of groups? And then I think as part of this, you also have to consider how can we start to control our use of the healthcare system through our clinic. Do we expand our clinic? Do we have specialty care on our clinic? Do we have additional hours at our clinic? Those are all things that are all wrapped up into this. And so there's a lot in those 6 lines, but and where we're at in that process is we meet this week with our advisor to help get the idea of structuring an RFP. And what, from, kind of beginning with the end in mind, if we ask for certain information in the RFP, how might we want to evaluate, or what kind of a rubric, if you would, might we want to use to evaluate those options that we get, the information we get back. And that would be something that we would start with the insurance committee with, and like we had done last year, the insurance committee offers its insights and its questions. Some of those we brought back to this committee for feedback to get some guidance, and then kind of continue to shape and mold a concept until we get to a point where we're making some type of a recommendation. And that could be a couple iterations, right? It could be insurance committee has questions and thoughts. HR committee gives some feedback. We do that a couple times perhaps. And then we get to the point where we're bringing a proposal to the HR committee first in February, probably more March. And then the full board is reviewing that in March, April. And then we're rolling with that plan for 25, 26. I guess kind of what I'm also seeing is, do you as a committee feel like we're missing anything there? Is there anything you really want us to emphasize? Is there particular areas that you want us to dig deeper into? Because we want to really get the information that everyone wants to have at their disposal to make a good decision.
I was just gonna say March is gonna be here before we know it. It sounds like we got a lot to work through between now and then. So if there's anything we can do to make it easier or faster, let us know, because that's RFQs alone usually take 8 weeks. So
Yeah, and I think, USI is our advisor. it has not, we've been talking about this kind of insurance committee level since our first meeting in September. They've not been concerned, Al and Heather, our people, have not been concerned that we can get that information back from those entities in a timely fashion. I don't think we've gotten to the point where we've talked about like what's our deadline for a proposal. But they have expressed to us that they're, we'll have the data, if you would, in our hands to make decisions to meet that time.
The holidays and everything is shorter. Feels like a long time away, but
Right.
just that it goes away.
And it's in January.
And then it's the end of January and you're like, oh,
I just have a question, Brian, on the gathering staff feedback. So what exactly would you be looking for from the staff, the different options or the ways where we're trying to go, or?
That's a great question, Dr. Bond. So there's kind of two parts to that. The first part, actually, we pool together a survey for the greater Dane County region for school districts where we're asking employees satisfaction and dissatisfaction with what they're currently receiving. And that one is actually a survey that our benefits advisor creates and sends to any of the Dane County schools that want to participate. And we've participated in that for a number of years. So we kind of get how happy folks are and how unhappy folks are in that. The second part of the feedback would really be related to as we start to consider options. How do our employees feel about what those options look like? It's hard because we can't necessarily say, we can't pose a question to them that says, is it more important to you that you have more wages than we keep your benefit costs low? Because an area school district found out that that's a question that actually gets you in a little bit of trouble with the WERC because it works against the open negotiation process. Because you're now asking a union or a partially unionized group of employees to tell you what they want as opposed to the union telling you what they want. And so we can't ask them, do you want more money here or you want more money here? But we could talk to them about structures. And we did that when we were considering some of the changes coming into this year. We asked them to tell us what's more important. Is it more important to control a copay versus the deductible? Are they equally important to you? Those kinds of pieces of feedback. And yeah.
And within the questioning, we're educating them on each aspect of the questions that we're asking, just to make sure that they're fully informed, right, about.
It's like you were here last year with us. That's a really hard thing. And I think, I look a lot at Joan and Steve, who have been on the insurance committee committee for a long time. That committee knows, as a group of staff members, probably are thinking about this more than almost anyone else. And there's a lot of education that has to go into making sure the committee can make the best decisions and make the best recommendations for all. And then on top of it, if you start to ask general employees what their thoughts, we absolutely have to make sure they understand even what they're answering. And that can be hard, right? And that's, and so we've done that in different ways, education within the survey, but also creating informational sheets, if you would, using the committee itself to help promote information. But yeah, that's a major challenge, I would say.
So there's no action on that, right?
No, it's really, I think it just helped giving me some feedback if you uncomfortable with anything's there or want some more attention paid to any part of it.
It's good.
I think you're covering the full spectrum of options, so
We'll see what happens.
yeah.
think it's interesting to think about expanding clinic. And are we maximizing the level of care that, do we have a nurse practitioner right now or a PA?
Gypsy is a physician's assistant,
So,
and then we also have a registered nurse, and we have an RN, which isn't. We made that transition last year from a medical assistant to an RN for just a little bit, basically more, I don't know, if procedures is the right word, but more things that the RN can do than a medical assistant.
so one of your thoughts is expanding the type of treatment that they might be able to do.
Well, both of those individuals actually right now are part-time. 0.8, our RN is 0.8, our PA is 0.6. You know, there's potential to expand, you know, have more appointments become available. You know, obviously that's a cost within but again, you could cost out, you know, how much more does that personnel expense, you know, what does it give us back in potential appointments and claim avoidance? But I think there's also within that, is there, you know, should we be bringing in a consistent schedule? For example, like other Sun Prairie's clinic, they have a behavioral health specialist that does regular schedule hours there. I believe that I don't know that it's in Sun Prairie. I know that other employee clinics have physicians, physical therapists that are coming in, you know, regularly. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could go. I mean, more hours of different providers. I think those are all things to explore.
I think that would be a really great benefit for our employees and could also save us a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes, right? And I think you know, Steve and I actually were having this exact conversation this afternoon, that the clinic probably becomes a real core part of, I believe, our future health plan, because it's a cost containment structure and it's at its essence. But if we start to go down different roads, like for example, self-funded, now you really have incredible amount of incentive to try to keep it at a cost containment level. And so if we end up on that path or in that place, the clinic is probably going to be a key part of that. But even if we're in the health plans that we're in now, you know, anything we can do at a fixed cost is helpful to us.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see even expanding those hours on Wednesday, what that does to use. I mean, when you say 70% are using that, I mean, we have struggled for years to get to that level. I mean, we were at like 20%.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a steady growth, and it took a bit.
Yeah, that's just great to see, and I think that's where we're going to start seeing some major. Anyway, I think it's a great list. And that's all.
Ready for a motion?
Motion, yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.